Good afternoon. Good evening, actually. Let's talk about allies and Orruk Warclans. Yeah, let's do that. So, why bring allies at all? So, an allied unit fills a role that's better than anything else that you have in the army. So, for example, Marshcrawler Sloggoth in the Gitz army gives a bunch of units that are mostly 4-ups to hit. Gives them +1 to hit in an area of effect. There's nothing in the Gitz book that does anything similar to this, where you're going to give a lot of units +1 to hit when that's something that they really, really, really want. It's too bad, pardon me, that there's nothing in the Orc book that really likes this, right? It's too bad. Maybe Ardboys with Stickas. That might be the best. If someone was like, I really want to use Marshcrawler Sloggoth in Orcs, I'd be like, well, get a bunch of Ardboys with Stickas. So another reason that you would want to consider an ally is if the unit is just so gosh darn powerful that they're just worth considering all by themselves, right? Because don't forget, when you take an ally, you lose all of the synergies that come with the book. So, Scragrot actually has a bunch of abilities on his war scroll that say, like, if this unit is part of a Gloomspite Gitz army. So, right? Anyway, so when Scragrot first came out, he was only 160 points. I think now, is he 220 now or 230? Something like that. But he's had a huge points increase. Like, I think he's 240. Like a 50% point increase. And when he was out at 160, it was like, well, for 160 points, he's a 2-cast +1 wizard that gives a free command point every turn and has a strong war scroll spell. Like, why wouldn't you take him? I've also seen some lists played by some prominent Ironjaws players that still run Scragrot, because in Ironjaws it's like, well, he's a 2-cast wizard, that's +1, and he shoots things. That's kind of his role, right? So either you're taking a unit that fills a role, or you're taking just a really strong unit. So let's look at what I think are the best allied units to take in Orruk Warclans. So for heroes, we have Rabble Rouser at 100 points. It's the only thing that you can get in the book that gives run and charge. So I've talked about this before, but this is where you get your big pig run and charge from. So he's worth taking. I think it's more like a fun list. I don't think it's as competitive, but if you're like, hey, I want to play a whole bunch of big pigs in Ironjaws or in Bigwa, and I want to do like an Alpha Strike style, it's like, well, play Rabble Rouser. There you go. Scragrot's 230. But he's great. A free command point is always good. His War Scroll spell is strong. 2+1 casts and unbinds. I think his points are a little bit high now at 230. Before, like when he was cheaper, he was like maybe not an auto include, but definitely worth considering. Yeah, I mean, he's fantastic. I would say that as far as heroes go, these two are definitely worth considering to take in Orruk Warclans armies. For Gitz, Stabbas and Shootas. Stabbas and Shootas are both great objective takers and screens. You're paying 120 points for 20 bodies. That's a lot of bodies for the point cost. They make excellent screens because they're on 25mm bases. You can line them up in a straight line. 20 models lined up in a straight line like that cover a lot of territory, so they're really good at that. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, the best thing in the Orc book would be Hobgrots. They have 6 points per body instead of 8 points a body, like the Stabbas and the Shootas do are 6 points a body, so they're cost effective in terms of how many feet they put on objectives. People like to debate which one is better, the Stabbas or the Shootas. The Stabbas, what they bring is that 9-inch objective taking until you lose one model, right? Because it's if you have 20 or more. The Shootas, what they do is they bring shooting. But personally, I refuse to roll 40 dice to deal under 3 damage, because that's about what it works out to be. You roll about 40 dice and you deal under 3 damage. So I refuse. I refuse to run Stabbas for that. If there was a way to buff them so that they did like mortal wounds on 6s or something, like that's a different story, right? But like I don't know, but if you're rolling 40 dice to deal 1 or 2 damage, it's bad game design. It's bad game design. I've been arguing with people about this in the Discord, but it's like, no, you can't, like, it's just bad game design. Rolling buckets of dice is fine if you're doing buckets of damage. That's what I feel like when I'm rolling a Squig herd. But not when I'm using Shootas. But to each their own. To each their own. But they fill similar roles in the army for sure. I would argue that Stabbers are better because they can take objectives before the game starts that are outside of your deployment zone, right? Because if the objective is like, 8.5 inches away, you can tow onto that objective outside of 9 and control it at the start of the game, which means if your opponent is taking the first turn, that they have one more objective to take to get control 1, control 2, to get control more. So, I don't know. I think Stabbers are better, but Shootas are a good option. I mean, they're the same cost, and they serve fundamentally the same role. They just have like a slight difference between them. So Cavalry, we have Rippa's Snarl Fangs at 110 points for 3 models and 9 wounds on a 5-up save, I think. And then we have Snarl Fang Riders for 120 points, 5 models, 10 wounds. So it's 1 more wound, but they deal, and 2 more bodies, sorry, but they deal less damage by like a notably less amount of damage. But besides that, they're very, very similar. Very, very, very similar. I mean, for these guys, and the Spider Riders, about whom we're going to speak next, but their role is to be fast, to take objectives when you need them to screen when you need them to zone things out when you need them to. So I really like these guys. I'm a big fan. Spider Riders too. 90 points for 5 models with a 12-inch move that fly over terrain. Feels good, right? Flank, take objectives, screen. They serve the same role that Hobgrots do, but they're just a lot faster. They're not there to do damage. They're there to be useful, feed on objectives. They're there, yeah. So, personally speaking, I think that all 3 of these units, Rippa's, Snarlfangs, and Spider Riders, are all worth having in your arsenal. When you're looking at your last handful of points, right, it's going to come down to things like this. It's like, well, do I want, like what kind of options am I taking? Like, I think that they're better than like the Crushes and stuff like that, right? Because they are. If I have 70 points, I'm taking Dagox Stab Lads. If I have 80 points, I'm taking Hobgrots. If I have 90 points, I'm taking Spider Riders. If I have 100, right? That's kind of how my list building has been working lately. It's like, well, what's the last little bit that I have in my list? And then I'm going to plug one of these little dudes in its place, because I'm not thinking about these screens at the beginning of the game. I'm thinking about my heroes and my hammers and my Ardboys and such. And then when I get down to the end, I'm looking at, well, I have 120 points left over. Do I want Stabbas or Snarlfang Riders? Which one do I want in my list, right? That's kind of the idea. So, but they're definitely worth having on the shelf. Definitely worth having on the shelf. Trogs and Monsters, Rockets are really good. Even without the Light of the Bad Moon, they're still on a 4-up save with a 5-up board. They're a pretty good anvil. We now have Ardboys, but in Cruel Boys, for example, Rockguts are the best anvil that you can get. You can also take a reinforced unit of them, so you can take 6 Rockguts. I've seen it. It's not my favorite thing. I think it's better if you're playing big yellers because you're throwing up these Ardboys in front. Not big yellers, the other one, Grinning Blades, you're having to fill 300 points, 380 points worth of battle line already. So, and then Fell Waters are good too. Their ability to remove bonuses to saves is good. They work really well with Unleash Hell, right? Like they can sit behind a unit of Gut Rippas. Not that, Gut Rippas matter a lot with saves, but because we definitely deal mortal wounds. So, I mean, I'd say if I was going to pick one or the other, I would pick Rock Guts for sure. And then we also have Skitterstrand or Ragnarok. Phasing in and out is an interesting ability. You can phase in at the end of the movement phase and then attempt to charge in the charge phase. And if you fail your charge, you can just zone out again at the end of the combat phase. So, I mean, like, it's an ability that we don't have anywhere else in the book and is kind of cool. Like, I've always really liked this model, and I've liked how it sort of comes in and out. It's a bummer that it has no way of getting any kind of bonus to charge. So you're stuck with a 9-inch charge no matter what. So, but I mean, zoning in and grabbing objectives in the backline can be cool. He can zone in and smash to rubble if your opponent's not careful. His base size is really large, so he's quite easy to zone out. But still, like, yeah, I mean, worth having on the shelf for sure. Let's talk about Regiments of Renowned and Mercenaries. So you have Big Rick's Cruel Shot at 290 points. If you were planning, you can't run this in Cruel Boys, right? But you can run this in Gits and in Big Wa and in Iron Jaws. So if you were planning on running some MSU, like a couple of units of 3 Bolt Boys, then it's worth considering because what you're getting is a 50-point kill bow. So that seems like a lot of value. It's if you're not going to be running a Swamp Kala and you're not going to be running a Sludge Raker, having 2x3 Bolt Boys is better than having 1x6 Bolt Boys because you're getting the extra champion shot from both. So you're getting 1 additional shot overall, but you're not. But since you're not buffing them with a poison, then it doesn't matter. Like in my last, before all the points changes, in my Big Wa list, I like to run 6 Bolt Boys with a Swamp Kala Shaman, and I'd give them poison and they would do mortals. But if you're not going to be running a Shaman, then Big Grix is definitely worth considering. It's pretty cost efficient if you want to run some units of Bolt Boys anyway. We have Braggott's Bottle Snatches at 500 points. Deep striking units with Rabble Rouser is fun. So we're back into that realm of like, well, this is just fun to play. I'm going to play Braggott's Bottle Snatches and then a bunch of Big Pigs. And then all my Big Pigs are going to have Run in charge and Gabapalooza, and I'm going to have some Squig Herds and Hoppers running around, screening, taking objectives. I think it might be a little bit overcosted. I'm not actually sure. Let me just do the math real quick. So 180 plus 140 plus 190 plus 100, that's it, right? There's 4 units in it. So it's 610 points worth of models, and you can get it for 500 points. So, I don't know. It seems okay. Seems okay. I think most of the time I would just probably take Rabble Rouser. It's not that hard, but, I mean, it's just kind of fun. It's like, here you go. Boom. Here's some backline deployed dudes, right? Like, it seems pretty good. And then we have, last but not least, Big Drog Fort Kicka. This is the Mega Gargant Mercenary. Who doesn't love a Mega Gargant smashing your opponent to rubble? It's more fun than anything else. And yeah, I mean, I want to get a Gatebreaker just to put on my shelf, just so I can have him to pull off, like in some casual games, in some games that are supposed to be just for fun, because who doesn't love a giant Gargant running around? So top 5 allies. I think the best allies are going to be your Stabbas and your Shootas. I think that they are the ones that are worth considering. Like if you're looking at all of these allies and you're thinking like, well, which ones are actually worth getting and painting and putting up on my shelf, I think that the Stabbas, a unit of Stabbas slash Shootas is the way to go. After that, I think it's kind of a 3-way tie between Rippa, Snarlfang Riders, and Spider Riders. They serve the same role. They're just their points are different, so it depends on how many points you have left and what else is in your list. And then at the bottom here, I put Rock Guts, but realistically, I think that they're like a distant 5th. I think it's almost kind of a 4-way tie between Stabba Shootas, Rippa Snarlfang Riders, and Spider Riders. They're good. And 3 out of 5 of these, just as a note, are cheap mobile screens. We do not have any in the Orruk Warclans books. So I would love to see a Cruel Boys cavalry unit that fills this role, for example, like a Nash Pup pack. Something that is 100 points, 120 points, 80 points, something in that range where they're just fast and like they're not designed to deal damage, but they're there to do some other kind of utility role. So, which reminds me, I'm having a contest in Discord on exactly that. Can you design a Cruel Boys 100 point or less light cavalry unit? There's a page on my Discord that has more specifics. The deadline is Friday, March 1st. So if you're interested, come check out the Discord. It's linked below, and it should be fun. It should be a fun time. But thanks for watching. Thanks to my patrons. We got Mark and Zed Ramirez, both at the Kill Boss tier, and of course all the art for the channel was donated by Barian. That's probably spelled wrong. I think I spelled his name wrong. Oh my, how embarrassing. I guess I gotta fix that right now, don't I? Yeah, I do. Baron? No, that's not his name. I missed a letter in there. So, thanks to all these folks for supporting the channel. Become a patron to get a Discord role, obviously support my content, and win every argument that we ever have. Link in the description below. Until next time, like, subscribe, wah.